chapter 36 and 37. The encounter that Hezekiah had with the king of Assyria, Sennacherib. But before we get into those two chapters, we need to do a little bit of background. Let's turn to 2 Kings chapter 18. 2 Kings chapter 18. We need this background to understand what Sennacherib said and what Hezekiah said. 2 Kings chapter 18. And I would like somebody to read beginning in verse 9 through 16. 2 Kings chapter 18, beginning in verses 9 through 16.
In King Hezekiah's 4th year, which was the 7th year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, marched against Samaria and laid siege to it.
All right, now let me stop here. Now we've got a king before him. This is before Sennacherib, okay? Keep that in mind. All right, go ahead, please.
At the end of 3 years, the Assyrians took it. So Samaria was captured in Hezekiah's 6th year, which was the 9th year of Hoshea, king of Israel. The king of Assyria deported Israel to Assyria and settled them in Halah, in Gozan, on the Haber River, and in towns of the Medes. This happened because they had not obeyed the Lord their God, but had violated his covenant, all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded. They neither listened to the commands nor carried them out. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah's reign, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, attacked all the fortified cities of Judah and captured them. So Hezekiah, king of Judah, sent this message to the king of Assyria at Lachish: I have done wrong. Withdraw from me, and I will pay whatever you demand of me. The king of Assyria extracted from Hezekiah, king of Judah, 300 talents of silver, 30 talents of gold. So Hezekiah gave him all the silver that was found in the temple of the Lord and in the treasuries of the royal palace. At this time, Hezekiah, king of Judah, stripped off the gold with which he had covered the doors and doorposts of the temple of the Lord and gave it to the king of Assyria.
Okay, now verse 17 picks up where we're going to get in a little bit in chapter 36 of Isaiah. All right, let's turn to 2 Chronicles chapter 32. 2 Chronicles chapter 32. And let's read verses 1 through 9. 2 Chronicles chapter 32. Verses 1 through 9.
After these things,
Just make sure everybody gets it. 2 Chronicles 32, verses 1 through 9. And these two will give us some good background to understand the conversation between, again, Sennacherib and Hezekiah. All right, go ahead now, please.
after these things, and these acts of faithfulness, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and invaded Judah and encamped against the fortified cities, thinking to win them for himself. And when Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib had come and intended to fight against Jerusalem, he planned with his officers and his mighty men to stop the water of the springs that were outside the city, and they helped him. A great many people were gathered, and they stopped all the springs and the brook that followed through the land, saying, Why should the kings of Assyria come and find much water? He set to work resolutely and built up all the wall that was broken down and raised towers upon it, and outside it he built another wall. And he strengthened the Millo in the city of David. He also made weapons and shields in abundance. And he set combat commanders over the people and gathered them together to him in the square at the gate of the city, and spoke encouragingly to them, saying, Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed before the kings of Assyria and all the horde that is with him, for there are more with us than with him. With him is an arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God, to help us and to fight our battles. And the peoples took confidence from the words of Hezekiah, king of Judah.
Okay, those two selections give, and I realize that obviously you have not read that before in preparation for this, and I would suggest that you do go back and read it, because this will help us to understand the conversation, the encounter, I guess would be a better word, that Hezekiah and Sennacherib are going to become involved in. I have debated how to do this, because if you have read chapters 36 and 37, you know, there's back and forth. I don't like to do this, but I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the reading right now, because there's things that I want to stop and emphasize. And rather than to interrupt someone, I don't like to do that, but I think it might be best under this circumstance. All right, we're going to start with Isaiah chapter 36, and we're going to work through all the way through, if we have time, all the way through chapter 37. Now you have to remember what the Assyrians have already done, not Sennacherib himself, but what the Assyrians had done. Israel is gone. I don't know where I read, and I don't know where the figure came from. They took 200,000 from Israel to Assyria, okay, in captivity. I don't know how commentators and all arrived at that figure, but again, the whole point was a bunch of people. All right, now watch carefully. There's a lot of things involved here in this exchange between Sennacherib and Hezekiah. All right, we're going to begin in chapter 36 and with verse 1. Now it came to pass in the 14th year of King Hezekiah that Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them. All right, we've just read that in Kings and Chronicles, okay? Then the king of Assyria sent to, now boy, trying to deal with these names, Rabshakeh, and you may pronounce it differently. Is it potatoes or potatoes? Okay, Laura?
Rapsage, if I'm looking at it right in the Strongs.
All right, now the first name.
There's only one name.
Rabshakeh. Again.
Rapsage.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, all right, okay. Let's not get involved in that. Okay, but what is mentioned now in Kings and Chronicles? There are three of them mentioned. He was apparently the spokesman or the chief communicator. Isaiah does not mention the other two. That's not a conflict. It's not a contradiction. If it said only him, that would be different. All right? Let's see, where are we? Okay, then the king of Assyria sent to Rabshakeh of a great army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem. And he stood by the aqueduct from the upper pool on the highway in the fuller's field. This is in fact mentioned back in Isaiah chapter 7, this particular pool. Okay? All right, then Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Shebni the scribe, and Joah, the son of Asaph, the recorder, came out to him. Okay? Now, here's where we start all of this confrontation, if you please. Rabshakeh said to the men, "Say now to Hezekiah, thus says the great king." Now, emphasize that. Several times, the king of Assyria is referred to as the great king of Assyria. What confidence is this in you which you trust? I say, is that right? I say you speak of having plans and power for war, but they are mere words. Now in whom do you trust that you may rebel against me? Now we saw that again in 2 Kings. Look, you are trusting in the staff of this broken reed, Egypt, on which if a man leans, it will go through his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who trust him. But if you say to me, we trust now I want you to watch this carefully, class. If you read this, I don't know whether you caught some of this arrogance that he's talking about. But if you say to me, we trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away and said to Judah and Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar? Is that true or false?
False.
Why is it false?
God was not present in those high places.
No.
God was not present in those high places.
Okay, exactly. He thought when Hezekiah tore down all of these, even the not the golden calf, the
bronze serpent.
I've drawn a blank, but none of these had anything to do with the true God. He thought they did. Now again, that is very, very important. Let me see now. Let me go back to where did I leave off? But if you say we trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places, and that of course is false information. You shall worship before his altar. Now therefore, I urge you, give a pledge to my master, the king of Assyria. Now, if you read this, did you catch this? And I'll give you 2,000 horses. Period? No. Listen to the slam. If you are able on your part to put riders on them. Did you hear the cut? Keep that in mind as we read through this. All right, how then, now I don't quite understand this point. How then will you repel one captain of the least of my master's servants and put your trust in Egypt for chariots and horsemen? I'm wondering if he's saying, let me read that again. How then will you repel one captain of the least of my master's servants and put your trust in Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Is he saying the worst that we have can beat you?
Yes.
That seems to be what he's saying. Was the weakest guy that we have in the army, that's kind of the way that I understood that, will beat you. All right? Let me tell you something, class. I'll just tell you right up front. I don't know how many times I've read this and studied this during the week. I've almost got it memorized. I don't know. I have no idea. Well, you're not going to get it sitting here in this class. This is an important debate. It is an important conversation. It is an important challenge. Because this guy thinks he is God. Just watch it as you study it, and as we try to read through it, and as I try to do the best that I can in my feeble effort. Okay. Now, have I come to you without, now listen to this. Have I come to you without the Lord against this land to be destroyed? The Lord said to me, your God said to me, Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, go up against this land and destroy it. Where is it? Where is the evidence of that?
There is none.
There is none.
Because it didn't happen.
There is none. See, if you cannot handle the truth, and you start throwing in lies. All right, now that was the initial conversation. That was the initial challenge from the king to Jerusalem. Okay? Then Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah said to Rabshakeh, please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it, and do not speak to us in Hebrew, in the hearing of the people who are on the wall. And then Rabshakeh said, has my master sent me to your master and to you to speak these words, and not to the men who sit on the wall? Period. No. Who will eat and drink their own waste with you? Did you get that? He's already got it figured out. He's already got it figured out. And then Rabshakeh said, stood and called out with a loud voice in the Hebrew, and said, hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. Let me share just a little thought. When I read this about the men on the wall, go back to the Israelites walking around Jericho. Was there people on the wall looking at them? Obviously there was. And what were they thinking? These bunch of idiots walking around one day, next day, and then the seventh day, six times, is that right? Or 7 times? Can you imagine what the people were thinking about those, quote, idiots walking around the city? I had wondered about that when I just throw this in at no extra charge. Okay. Then Rabshakeh said, stood and called the loud voice. I'm sorry, we read that. Okay. Thus says the king, do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you. Is that true or false? Now be careful.
Hezekiah could not.
Yeah, okay, be careful the way it's worded.
True.
Be careful. Yeah, that statement is true. Hezekiah will not be able to deliver you. That's right. That's why I wanted to do it this way. I apologize, but I think it might be the best under this particular circumstances. Nor let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us. This city will not be given into the hand of the kings of Assyria. True or false statement? True. It will not be given. Now, we're yet to see that as we read on. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus says the king of Assyria, make peace with me by a present, and come out to me, and every one of you will eat his own vine, and everyone from his own fig tree, and everyone will drink the waters of his own cistern, until. No, let me read that and then I'll go back. Until I come and take you away in a land like your own land, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards. What's he talking about?
He's going to take them captive.
Yeah, but I mean, verse 16, first of all. What did they do when they went into and claimed the land? They, lack of a better word, they raped the land. So as long as you give the city to me, everything will be okay. And then after that, I'm going to lead you to a better place. That's my understanding. Verse 16, because this is exactly what happened as we learn from history. Let me tell you something, and I think you know this. There is history that is written and gives us information beyond what the Bible tells us. That's okay. That's okay. If it is in harmony with what the Bible says. The Bible does not contain every bit of history. It is fulfilled through, as God, not inspired, used historians to write history. And we can learn from it. But we have to make sure that their account is in harmony with what the Bible says. And that's where some of our information comes from. Like I mentioned a moment ago, I don't know the source of how they knew there were 200,000, except I've never been in that part of the world. Some of you have. There are monuments, and through excavation, they unearth cities and they unearth history that is written that verifies what we're talking about. All right, let's see now, where are we? Let me see now, where are we? Okay, all right, in verse 16, if you let me take the city, that's okay. I'm not going to destroy it. Then I'm going to lead you into a better promised land. Verse 17. All right, then he continues. Beware lest Hezekiah persuade you, saying, the Lord will deliver us. Now watch carefully. Here is where we start getting the boastful and the arrogance. Has any one of the gods of the nations delivered its land from the hand of the king of Assyria? And the answer is no. Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of, oh boy, Sepharim? Okay. Indeed, have they delivered Samaria from their hand, from my hand? And of course the answer is no. Who among all the gods of the lands have delivered their countries from my hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem from my hand? What's he doing there? He is comparing the pagan gods of all these lands to the God of heaven. That's what he's doing. And of course, he's going to find out, and if you've read this, and we already know, okay. But they held, okay, now, he's made his speech again to everybody. You have to wonder what those on the wall, okay. But they held their peace and answered him not a word, for the king's commandment was, do not answer him. And Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph, the recorder, came to Hezekiah with their clothes torn and told him the words of Rabshakeh. We've seen this in our study of other parts of Isaiah. This is the normal response to, I guess, terror and just simply being beyond comprehension. All right, verse 30, chapter 37. Chapter 37.
I wonder if Israel, because Israel was taken, that Judah would have had some remorse thinking that they would be taken because Israel was taken. But Israel did not worship the true God. So those false gods they were worshiping could not save them. Israel was taken out and taken and scattered throughout the known world.
Well, right. Well, we saw that in our 2 Kings, if I remember correctly. We read that. Laura?
I think a point here is sometimes the best answer is not an answer.
Yes.
Because they were told, don't engage. Sometimes the best engagement is do not do so.
Did Christ answer everybody? No. I think that's a lesson we have failed to understand in the teachings of Christ. There are some things that are not worthy of an answer. Or worthy of an answer. And particularly, I find this particularly in dealing with people that are arrogant, that have all the answers. Sometimes it's best simply not to answer. All right, let's move on. Good points. Good points. All right. So it was when King Hezekiah heard it that he tore his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of the Lord, which was the temple. Okay? Then he sent Eliakim, who was over the household, Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests covered with sackcloth to Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos. And they said to him, now remember, now this is all verbal right now. This is all verbal. And they said to him, thus says Hezekiah, this day is a day of trouble and rebuke and blasphemy, for the children have come to birth, and there is no strength to bring them forth. What in the world does he mean? This day is a day of trouble and rebuke and blasphemy, for the children have come to birth. I don't know. I don't know what he means by birth, but there is no strength to bring them forth. I don't know. I've studied it, and I'm not sure what that particular phrase means. It may be that the Lord your God. Now watch this carefully. I've got this underlined on my sheet. Twice. Listen to what he said. Now remember, these are speaking. They are speaking now to Isaiah, conveying the message. Okay. Let's see. It may be that the Lord your God will hear the words of the Rabshakeh, who his master, the king of Assyria, has sent to reproach the living God, and will rebuke the words which the Lord your God has heard. Therefore lift up your prayer for the remnant that is left. Why would these Jews, in speaking to Isaiah, say twice, "You're the Lord, your God"? Why would they? And I don't have the answer if you're looking for me for the answer. Why would they say, why would they not say the Lord our God.
Because
Deborah?
that just goes back to that one saying that for children have come to birth and they don't have any strength to deliver. So they want you to because it's ready to be done, but they don't have the strength within themselves. So they're kind of losing a little bit of that faith and hope in God himself at this point. That's how I see it.
Okay, interesting point. Now, what has happened to Samaria at this time?
They're not in captivity.
Why? Well, we read in 2 Kings why. They didn't keep the law. They were not faithful. And could this be coming down on them now? Are they aware? Are they waking up to the fact that they're not worthy? I don't know. But again, twice here, the Lord your God.
Aren't they just relaying Hezekiah's message?
I'm sorry, Bill?
Aren't they relaying just Hezekiah's message? These are Hezekiah's words, right?
When no, yeah, they're speaking to Isaiah, right? The message that came.
So this is Hezekiah's words. Hezekiah says, "Your God," to Isaiah, or that's the message, right?
I think through the Old Testament, I hear it. That's often said that way. Your God instead of our God.
Okay, okay. Back to verse 3. And they said to him, "Thus says Hezekiah." Okay, Hezekiah is speaking here, right? All right. Let me see now. Let me see. Therefore, let me go back to verse 4. That it may be that the Lord your God will. All right, they are the ones who were sent in verse 2, and they are saying to Hezekiah, I'm sorry, to Isaiah, that Hezekiah says, "This is the day," so forth, so forth. That may come to the Lord. Okay. All right. Let me get some more thought on that.
I take it here that they're relaying Hezekiah's message. Now they're throwing their lot in with Hezekiah, though. I mean, that's what I mean.
Okay. Good. That's a good point. I'll have to go back and hopefully you will too. Okay. So the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah. And verse 6, and Isaiah said to them, "Thus you shall say to your master," which is King Hezekiah, "Thus says the Lord, do not be afraid of the words which you have heard, with which the servants of the king of Assyria have what? Blasphemed me." Now listen to this. "Surely I will send a spirit upon him who? Sennacherib, right. "And he shall hear a rumor and return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land." 4 points that we're going to find, if you have read this, are going to be carried out to the letter. What? I will send a spirit upon him. I don't know. A spirit, of course, or a mind. We've already seen his mind is a mind of arrogance. And of course, and then that point in verse 6, this has blasphemed me. What does that blaspheme mean?
Speak against.
All right. I learned something a few years ago that I was not aware of on that word blaspheme. You cannot blaspheme me. I cannot blaspheme you. The word blaspheme refers only to that which is holy. I was not aware of that. Oh, we can speak injury of one another. We can, quote, curse one another. But we cannot blaspheme, because blaspheme refers only to that which is holy and sacred. Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. That's an interesting observation that I learned. All right, let's see. Okay, verse 8. Everybody with me? Nobody's going to sleep? Everybody here? All right, then, Rabshaketh, whatever, let's call him Jim, okay? Yeah. No. I'll tell you. Say, then he returned back to the king, Sennacherib. Now, I added that. And found the king of Assyria warring against Libnah. For he heard that he had departed from Lachish. And the king heard concerning, oh boy, whatever, king of Ethiopia. He has come out to make war with you. So when he heard it, he sent messengers to Hezekiah saying, now, we really get into the meat of this confrontation. Watch carefully, please. I hope I've done the right thing in doing this way. I don't like to do it, but under this circumstance, I made the decision, and you can fuss at me if I'm wrong. Okay. All right, let's see. Or he sent messengers to Hezekiah, saying, thus you shall speak to Hezekiah, the king of Judah, saying, do not let your God in whom you trust deceive you, saying, Jerusalem will not be given into the hands of the king of Assyria. So he's now charging God with deception or lying. Okay? Look, you have heard what the kings of Assyria had done to all the lands by utterly destroying them, and you shall be delivered? And the answer is, yes, we shall be delivered. Have the gods of the nations delivered those whom our fathers have destroyed? Gozan, Haran, Zeph, I guess, and the people of Eden who are Tel Lazer. Where is the king of Hamath? Where is the king of Arpad? Where is the king of the city of Shephavain, Hena, and Ivah? We just read that back in Kings. And Hezekiah, now Hezekiah received the letter. Now it has gone from oral to written. Okay? Then Hezekiah received the letter from the hands of the messengers and read it, and Hezekiah went to the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. Then Hezekiah prayed to the Lord, saying, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, the one who dwells between the cherubim, you are God. You alone are all the kingdoms of the earth. You made heaven and earth. Incline your ears, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see and hear all the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent to reproach the living God. Surely, Lord, the kings of Assyria has laid waste all the nations and their lands, and have cast their gods into the fire. For they were not gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore they destroyed them. Now therefore, O God, our God, save us from the hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you are the Lord, you alone. Then Isaiah the son of Amos sent to Hezekiah, saying, Thus says the Lord, God of Israel, because you have prayed to me against Sennacherib, king of Assyria, then this is the word which the Lord has spoken concerning him. Him who? All right, that's very important. The virgin, the daughter of Zion, has despised you, laughed you to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem has shaken their head behind your back. That's interesting. Whom you have, you who? Verse 21. Verse 23. You who? All right, we've got to keep this in mind. Whom you have reproached and blasphemed, against whom you have raised your voice, lifted up your eyes on high, against the Holy One of Israel, and by your servants you have reproached the Lord, and said, by the multitudes of my chariots, and what's this? I have come up to the height of the mountains, to the limits of Lebanon. I have cut down the tall cedars and its choice cypress trees. I will enter its furthest height and its fruitful forest. I have dug and drunk water with the soles of my feet. I have dried up all the brooks of the defense. Now, did you not hear long ago how I made it? I who? God. Okay, it's changed here. He's changed. This is very typical. In ancient times I have formed it, and now I have brought it to pass that you, now listen to this, that you should be, you who? Sennacherib should be for crushing fortified cities into heaps of ruins. Therefore their inhabitants had little power, that they are dismayed and confounded. They were as grass of the field, and the green herb, and the grass of the housetops, and the grain blighted before it was grown. But I, now what he's simply showing here is what Sennacherib has done. But I know your dwelling place. You're going out and you're coming in, and your rage against me, because your rage against me and your torment have come up to my ears. Therefore, listen to this, class. Therefore, I will put my hook in your nose and my bridle on your lips. I will turn you back from the ways which you came. What's he describing? Particularly in verse 29. What is he describing?
He basically is turning him into a horse. I'm putting my bridle on you. You're going to turn the way I say.
Okay, how do they treat people?
They had a hook.
This same way. Read your history. The same way. What goes around comes around. All right, we're not going to get through this. I wasn't sure. Okay. Thus shall be assigned to you. Now, what he's doing here, it seems, and we're going to run out of time, he is now talking to Jerusalem and Hezekiah. We're going to have to stop here because that thing's going to buzz in a minute. That's what it appears, that he is now directing some hope to Jerusalem and to Hezekiah. We're going to, I don't know whether the thing went off or not, but anyway, we have to stop here. Class, go back and restudy this yourself now with this information, and then we'll pick it up and move on.